before the market opens, before the blacksmith stirs the coals, before the children wake, a baker is already at work. In the silence of early morning, his hands are deep in flour. The oven has been warming for hours. The world around him still sleeps, but his hearth glows hot. This is not a story of knights or kings. There are no swords, no thrones. Just dough rising in wooden bowls. Just hands worn smooth by kneading. Just the scent of warm bread filling the stone walls of a quiet village. So if you're ready, let the world slow down. Breathe in. Let your thoughts soften like dough left to rest. And come with me into the day-long rhythm of a medieval baker. From the first ember to the final loaf. Before even the roosters stir, before the street lamps are tended, before any cart rolls into the square. A single room glows dimly in the silence of the village. It is not candlelight. It is the low orange pulse of an oven, still holding yesterday's warmth, like a sleeping heartbeat beneath stone. Here, in a narrow timber-framed bakehouse, walls soot-stained, air thick with flour and memory, a man rises. His name is not recorded in the pages of any book. He signs his name with a trembling X when the taxmen come, if they come at all. But he is known. To the mothers who need bread for their children. To the merchant who passes through once a week. To the priest who blesses the loaves at the harvest feast. He is the baker. And his day begins long before the village wakes. The room is cold at first. The hearth may still pulse faintly, but the air bites. The flagstone floor, always slightly damp, seems to hold the night inside it. The thatched roof above creaks now and then as the beams settle, sighing as if they too remember the labor of the day before. He does not shiver. He is used to this. His bed is not far, a pallet laid behind a thin linen curtain hung from a nail in the beam. The curtain sways slightly as he moves. His feet slide into leather slippers stiffened by ash. He pulls his apron from the peg, shakes it once, and ties it with the slow rhythm of habit. Outside the sky is ink. The moon has dipped behind the trees. No light shines through the single narrow window, and he does not yet open the wooden shutters. The world outside is still sleeping, and there is a kind of reverence in not disturbing it. He moves by feel. He knows where each bowl rests, where the sack of flour was last cinched, where the oil lamp sits with its tiny quivering flame. He does not need to speak. He does not need to think. Each movement is quiet and slow and known. First he checks the oven. It is a beehive oven, built from stone and clay, patched over the years with bits of mortar, wood ash, even river mud. It has seen more sunrises than he has. He crouches beside it, squinting into the blackness. He reaches for the iron poker. One slow push, another, and there, beneath the cooled ash, a faint gleam. A coal still red, still warm. It is enough. He adds kindling, dry sticks he gathered days ago, stacked near the hearth to keep them from the damp. He lays them carefully across the embers, then breathes gently through his cupped hands. His breath fogs in the air. The fire answers. With a slow bloom it comes to life. No rush, no crackle, just a deepening glow. He feeds it bit by bit, letting it grow, warming not just the oven but the room itself. He will stoke it for the next 2 hours before it's ready. Next the dough. The flour sack waits in the corner, tied with twine. It is coarse, stone ground, and smells faintly of the mill, of wheat fields, of something ancient. He lifts it slowly. The flour is heavy. He's carried it many times, but still his arms know its weight. He pours a measure into a wooden trough, carved by his grandfather's hands. The flour falls in a soft rush, like snow if he's honest, though he rarely sees it fall. Next he adds water. Not too cold. Not too hot. The water has been stored in a clay jug wrapped in cloth to keep the chill out. He pours slowly, judging by sound and sight. There is no scale. No clock. Only feel. And then, salt. Just a pinch. And yeast. Not powdered, not from a packet, but wild, saved from yesterday's batch. A lump of old dough, slightly sour, wrapped in cloth and tucked into a small ceramic bowl. He mixes it in. The mixing is not rushed. He presses his palms into the dough with rhythm. Fold. Turn. Press. Fold. The muscles in his arms work without tension. His shoulders remain soft. He has done this every morning for as long as he can remember. As he kneads, the air fills with warmth. Not from fire. Not yet. But from labor. A slow warmth that rises from the heart. Outside, a distant owl calls once, then falls silent. Inside, the dough grows smooth beneath his fingers. He works it until it is ready, pliable, elastic, soft. Then he lifts it, rolls it into a ball, and lays it gently in a wide wooden bowl. He covers it with a linen cloth, embroidered long ago by someone he never met. Now it must rest. And while it rests, so does he. Not in bed, but on the stool beside the oven. His hands still smell of flour. There is ash beneath his nails. His face is lit now only by firelight. His eyes watch the flame, not with urgency but presence. This is his favorite time. Not yet day. No customers. No clamor. No coin counting. Just warmth. Dough rising in silence. And the slow pulse of another day preparing to be born. In the next room a cat stirs. A bell above the door shifts slightly in the draft. A single bird begins to chirp somewhere near the eaves. The light is changing. Slowly. Outside the window, darkness softens. A pale blue is rising over the thatched roofs, brushing the tops of the bare trees. The village is still asleep, but not for long. The baker stands. He returns to the dough, lifts the cloth. It has risen. He smiles, barely but fully, and begins to divide it. 1 lump for the tavern. 1 for the widow across the lane. 2 for the inn. Half a loaf for himself. He shapes them carefully. His hands know what each household prefers. Crustier, softer, smaller, stretched longer. He scores the tops with a worn blade. Not fancy. Just functional. And then he checks the oven once more. The coals are glowing bright orange now. He sweeps out the ash with a damp cloth. The stones inside are hot. He can feel it even from a step away. It's time. He lifts the peel, an old wooden paddle darkened by hundreds of fires. One by one he slides the loaves in, their tops dusted lightly with flour. And just like that they begin to bake. The room fills with scent. It is slow at first, subtle. Then, bread. Warm. Earthy. Alive. He closes his eyes for a moment. Breathes it in. And outside the sky is no longer blue, it is gold. The first rays of sun strike the rooftops. Chimneys send up curls of smoke. A door creaks open. Someone coughs down the lane. A dog barks once. Footsteps. The village is waking. But the baker has already been awake for hours. His hands are warm. His apron is dusted white. And his bread is rising. By the time the first knock lands softly on the wooden door of the bakehouse, the room is already warm and filled with scent. The oven breathes gently now, no longer roaring with heat, but pulsing with the even warmth of a day's work begun. Inside, loaves sit nestled on the stone like sleeping creatures, their crusts darkening slowly, rising with quiet purpose. The baker does not jump at the sound of the knock. He expected it. It always comes around the same time, just after the bells of first light have rung in the chapel down the hill, though he cannot hear them from here, not with the thick walls and the oven humming softly beside him. He wipes his hands on his apron and moves to the door. The latch clicks. The door creaks inward. Cold air spills into the room. And there, standing with her hands clasped and scarf pulled tight under her chin, is the widow. Her name is Ellen, though everyone simply calls her the Widow Man. She's not young anymore. Her fingers are red with cold and slightly bent from years of work. She smells faintly of lavender and wood smoke. She comes every morning for the same thing, half a loaf, warm, still steaming, wrapped in a scrap of old linen. The baker does not speak much to her. Neither of them are the talking sort. He nods. She nods back. He turns, lifts a loaf gently from the oven with the edge of his peel, rests it on the table, and wraps it carefully. She gives him 2 farthings and a small, cracked coin, copper worn smooth by countless hands. He takes them silently, sets them into the wooden dish on the shelf by the door. She cradles the loaf like something sacred. Then she turns, and is gone. The door closes behind her with a low click. This is how the village wakes. One person at a time. There is no sudden flood. No rush of feet or shout of voices. The morning unfolds like bread rising, gently, slowly, with warmth. After the widow, others begin to arrive. A boy with scuffed boots, hair still sticking out in sleep-tangled tufts, hands his mother's cloth to the baker and waits with nervous eyes. He doesn't say anything, just fidgets. The baker knows this one well, he's the butcher's middle child. Quiet. Easily startled. Loves the heels of the loaf best. The baker smiles, not with his mouth, but with his eyes, and places a small, round roll into the cloth before handing it back. The boy grins wide and runs off down the lane. Next comes the tavern-keeper's apprentice. She is older, with strong arms and soot beneath her nails. She always arrives with a basket lined in rough flax, and always asks the same thing. 2 loaves. Crust dark. 1 with rosemary, if you've any left. Her voice is matter-of-fact, but not unkind. The baker nods. No words needed. He sets 2 loaves into her basket. She thanks him. She always says thank you. She drops a few thick coins onto the counter, tavern money, smoother and heavier, and disappears in a rustle of skirts. Behind her, the door swings shut again, letting in a gust of wind. The sun has fully risen now. It isn't high, still brushing the rooftops with a pale, gold light, but the frost is beginning to soften. Birds hop along the edge of the lane. Smoke pours upward from crooked chimneys. And the street in front of the bakehouse, which an hour ago held only shadow and silence, now carries soft footsteps. Boots. Hooves. The creak of cartwheels. The baker pauses for a moment and watches through the window. His small glass pane is warped, blown unevenly by hand, but he knows the shapes. There's the cooper's apprentice, shouldering a bundle of firewood. There's little Mary, skipping beside her grandmother, holding a basket too big for her hands. There's a merchant from the next village over, talking loudly to no one in particular. All of them, eventually, will pass through this doorway. Inside, the scent deepens. The loaves are ready. Not all at once, but one by one, they are drawn from the oven. The peel slides beneath them with a whisper. The crusts are firm. The bottoms hollow-sounding when tapped. The baker arranges them on the wooden table, row upon row, each with its own shape and shading. Some have seeds, some are dusted in flour, some have scored lines forming simple patterns on the crust. They're not identical. They're not meant to be. Each loaf holds a slightly different story. This one rose quickly in the corner near the fire. That one took longer. This one has a darkened edge, caught briefly in too much heat. This one, just right. By mid-morning, the bakehouse is full of motion. Not loud. Not rushed. But steady. The door opens and closes like a tide. A hand passes a coin. Another hand offers a cloth-wrapped parcel. A murmured thank you. A nod. Footsteps retreating. The baker moves constantly, yet never frantically. His fingers have a rhythm to them, like breathing. His eyes scan the loaves with practiced ease. He remembers who likes what. Who has credit. Who lost a child last spring and prefers not to speak. He remembers. Not because he tries. But because he is part of the village. And the village, though made of many lives, flows together like a river, slow, deep, winding. Sometime before noon, the priest arrives. He doesn't buy bread. He doesn't carry coin. But the baker always saves a small loaf for him. They exchange no more than 2 words, perhaps a nod and a blessing. But the ritual is old. Comfortable. And once the priest is gone, the baker sits for the first time all morning. He does not eat yet. Not much. Just a crust from a broken loaf, dipped into a bit of broth he warmed over the edge of the hearth. He sits in silence. His hands rest in his lap, stained with flour, red at the knuckles, calloused. He breathes slowly, watching the dust motes spin in the strip of sunlight that now stretches across the table. Outside, the village continues on. Dogs bark in the distance. A child cries, then quiets. A pot is dropped. Laughter follows. But here, in the bakehouse, for just a moment, it is quiet again. And the baker, without needing to explain why, feels full. By midday the bakehouse has changed. Not dramatically. Not with noise or fanfare. But with a quiet settling. The rush of morning customers has slowed to a trickle. The loaves that once stood in neat rows are now scattered, halved, or gone entirely. The door still opens now and then, but softly. A curious child. A farmer's wife running behind. A traveler with dust on his cloak. But for the most part, the village has eaten. And the baker has worked. He doesn't measure the time by a clock, he doesn't own one. But he knows the signs. The light that once slanted low and golden through the warped window pane now stretches longer, lazier, across the floor. It paints the flagstones with warmth. Dust drifts slowly in its path. He can feel the heat now. Not just from the oven, but from the air itself. The room is no longer cold. No longer quiet. It is alive with a heavy stillness. The oven, once roaring, now hums like a sleeping creature. Its fire has been fed, spent, and softened. The stones inside are still warm, deeply so, but the fiercest heat has passed. The baker crouches beside it and peers in not to check on bread, but simply out of habit. There's nothing left to bake today. The last loaf has been wrapped. The last heel sliced. The last silver coin placed gently in its dish. And so he rises and begins the slow work of cleaning. There is nothing hurried about it. The work is not glamorous, but it is his. He begins by sweeping the hearth. Not just ashes, though there are many, but bits of scorched flour, tiny charred crumbs, the burnt edge of a crust he discarded hours ago. The broom is hand-tied. The bristles uneven. He moves it across the floor with a rhythm older than thought. There is a kind of music in the quiet scrape it makes. He wipes the wooden table. The cloth is damp, its edges frayed. He drags it across the grain, collecting flour dust, tiny splinters of crust, the imprint of hundreds of kneads. The table is stained, darkened in places by years of oil, fire, and weather. But to him, it is as familiar as skin. He knows every knot in the wood, every spot that leans slightly, the place where his elbow always rests, the corner that always catches the hem of his apron. This table is the center of his life. Not the church, not the market. A piece of timber and time holding all the hours he spent feeding others. Outside, the world is warmer now. The street hums gently with voices. Children call to one another from behind hedges. Someone chops wood. A horse snorts. Bees pass through the open window, hovering briefly, drawn by the lingering smell of baked crust. The baker doesn't close the window. He welcomes the bees. He welcomes the breeze. He takes a moment, just one, to sit again. This time he pours water into a simple clay cup. It is cool from the jug. Condensation beads on its surface. He lifts it, drinks slowly. The coolness spreads through his chest, down to his belly. He does not rush. He eats the rest of the crust he left earlier, dipped in oil and herbs from a jar gifted to him by a tanner's wife last winter. The flavor is sharp, comforting. His jaw works slowly, rhythmically. Not because he's tired, though he is, but because there is no reason to eat quickly. The village outside may tick on with tasks and errands, but the bakery in these hours is a world apart. A little island of heat, flour, and silence. Once he's eaten, he rises again. There are cloths to rinse. Used to wrap bread, cover bowls, catch spills. He gathers them, soaks them in a pail beside the door, and wrings them out one by one. His hands are practiced. The movement of twist, squeeze, hang comes without thought. He strings them across a line by the window. They sway slightly in the warm air. Each droplet that falls from their edges is a mark of work done. Later he steps outside. Only for a moment. Not far. Just to stand in the patch of sunlight that stretches between the bakehouse and the old oak near the well. The air smells of summer now. Earth, bread, grass, distant herbs. The village is not busy, not loud. But it is awake. The blacksmith hammers somewhere up the lane. The carpenter saws slowly on the porch of his shed. Voices murmur behind open windows. This too is part of the rhythm. He doesn't linger. He returns inside. The heat has followed him. He removes his apron, shakes it free of crumbs, and folds it neatly on the bench. His shirt is damp at the collar. His back itches from flour. His fingers ache in that soft, familiar way. But he is not uncomfortable. He is, in every way, in his place. There are tasks still left. A bit of flour to grind for tomorrow's batch. A few crusts to save for the animals. The fire to tend. The tools to oil. But these can wait. The afternoon is his to move through. Slowly, like the sun across the floor. He sits again one final time. This time with nothing in his hands. And for just a breath. He closes his eyes. Not to sleep. Not even to rest. But simply, to be. To sit in the quiet hum of heat and labor, knowing that everything needed today has been done. And tomorrow will come. With its fire and flour and footsteps. And he will rise again. Before the first knock. Before the first crow's call. And it will all begin anew. The sun begins its descent. It's not sudden, not like a bell tolling or a curtain being drawn. Instead, it slips downward softly, pulling the light with it, turning every edge in the village a little longer, a little dimmer. Shadows stretch like fingers along the flagstone floor of the bakehouse. Dust motes drift slowly in golden beams. The air changes, still warm, but no longer full of movement. It is the hour of pause. The hour when people step outside for air, hands on hips, backs aching from work. When water is fetched. When animals are fed. When the day begins to exhale. Inside the bakehouse, it is quiet. The oven no longer hums. Its mouth is closed. Its heat held low and even, like a memory. The flour sacks have been tied and tucked into the corner. The table is mostly clear. The broom leans against the doorpost, waiting. And the baker? He is folding cloths. Wrapping the last of the unsold loaves in linen, placing them gently into a wide, shallow basket for tomorrow's crumbs and stew pots. He hums softly as he works. A tune without words. Something his mother used to hum while steeping herbs in the evenings. It carries no urgency, no rise and fall. Just a thread of sound to keep his hands company. The street outside carries softer sounds now. Not the hammering and shouting of midday, but the slow return. Boots on gravel. The swish of skirts. A child calling out, "Wait for me." A low laugh. A door closing. A latch drawn. Shutters creak as they are closed against the cooling air. Lamps are trimmed, their faint flames glimmering like fireflies inside. The village does not stop. But it quiets. Even the dogs bark less. At this hour, the bakehouse has few visitors. Most have already taken their bread. Supper is not far off. But a few pass by. A farmhand with a hat in his hands, asking for crumbs for the hens. An elderly man who doesn't buy, just nods each evening as he walks past. A midwife who carries no basket, but accepts a warm crust tucked into her apron all the same. To each, the baker offers what he can. Not just bread, but steadiness. A warm space. A nod. A presence that doesn't demand anything back. In return, they leave him pieces of their day, a story, a sigh, a grateful glance. These are the quiet transactions of dusk. As the last light slips away, he tends to the fire once more. Not to stoke it now, but to bank it. He arranges the ash and coals carefully, layering them with dampened cinders and thick chips of wood. This will keep the oven warm through the night. Not hot. Not burning. But just warm enough to welcome him again tomorrow, when the sky is still dark, and the village once again sleeps. Now, there is nothing left to do. No flour to measure. No loaves to lift. No cloths to rinse. Only stillness. The bakehouse glows now not with fire, but with a single oil lamp, its glass fogged slightly, flame flickering against the walls. The baker wipes his hands one final time. His knuckles are red. His fingers stiff. But his grip is sure. He removes his apron. Folds it slowly. Places it on the stool. He walks once around the room. Checking nothing in particular. Just being. The walls feel closer now in the soft light. The ceiling beams, worn and darkened with soot, seem to press downward slightly, as if leaning in to listen. He opens the window. Only a crack. The night air is coming now, cool, tinged with smoke and damp leaves. From outside, he can hear the faint bells of Compline ringing from the chapel beyond the trees. 1, 2, 3. A signal that the day is closing. He closes the window gently. The latch clicks softly. No echo. No wind. And then, for just a moment, he sits. No crust in his hand. No tool on the table. Nothing at all to hold. Only the warmth that still lingers in the stones. Only the scent that lingers in the air. Only the rhythm of breath, slow, even, complete. The bread is gone. The shelves are bare. The room is quiet. But the work remains. In his arms. In his back. In the scent on his clothes and the warmth in his chest. He does not smile. He does not sigh. He simply is. A man. In a room. At the edge of night. Soon, he will climb the narrow stairs to his cot in the loft above. He will stretch his legs, one by one. He will let the day fall from his shoulders like flour from cloth. And sleep will come. Not with dreams of grandeur. But of warmth, and rhythm, and quiet flame. Because tomorrow will begin again. And again, he will rise. Before first light. Night comes softly over the village. It does not descend with drama, nor arrive all at once. But folds itself gently into the corners of the world. Like a blanket pulled up by unseen hands. The sky turns from blue. Above the rooftops, the stars appear one by one. Faint pinpricks against the dark velvet of the heavens. No blaze. No urgency. Only stillness. The village is quiet now. The smithy has long since gone dark. Its coals buried beneath ash, its hammer resting against the wall. The chapel's last bell has stopped ringing. The streets, which only hours before echoed with carts and voices and wooden stalls, now carry nothing but the soft hush of air moving between buildings. A shutter creaks. A dog yawns behind a door. An owl calls, then falls silent. And above it all, a thin ribbon of chimney smoke rises slowly into the cold night. Inside the bakehouse, the warmth lingers. Faint, gentle, breathing low beneath the hearthstone. The fire has been banked. The oven sealed. No flames dance there now. Only a deep red glow nestled in the ash. Like the last pulse of a sleeping heart. The air is still warm. But quiet. The baker is asleep. Upstairs in the loft, behind a linen curtain pinned loosely to the beam, he lies on his cot. A rough blanket pulled up to his chest. His hands resting loosely over his stomach. His face is turned slightly toward the open rafters, where moonlight gathers in soft patches and spills like water down the walls. He does not dream of castles, or treasure, or fame. His dreams are of grain fields, and laughter in the courtyard, and the sound of bread crust cracking beneath a knife. Below in the bakehouse all is still, but not empty. The air holds the day within it, a scent of flour and smoke and heat, a hum of quiet labor, a memory of hands that worked with care. The tools are laid to rest, the bowl wiped clean, the table bare, the apron folded. Even the broom, leaning in its corner, seems to sleep. The cat, curled at the base of the hearth, opens one eye. She stretches, paws tucked, tail flicking once. Then she settles again, her breath soft and slow. She guards nothing. No riches. No secrets. Only the space itself. And what a space it is. Though small, though simple. A room held together not by wealth, but by warmth. By the marks left in wood. The dent in the table's edge. The stone that always wobbles beneath the door. This is a room built for bread. For work. For living. And now, for sleeping. Outside the village sighs. Wind stirs gently in the eaves. Lanterns have gone out, one by one, leaving only moonlight. A baby fusses somewhere in the dark, then quiets. A horse shifts its weight in a stall. A rooster, mistaking the moon for morning, crows once, and no one answers. It is the hour of surrender. The hour when even the most restless souls give in to rest. And still the oven glows. Oh, a quiet ember inside the belly of stone. It will burn through the night. Not in flame, but in memory. It remembers every loaf, every crust, every hand that placed dough gently on the peel, believing that something warm and nourishing would rise. The oven does not forget, just as the baker does not forget. The rhythms, the steps, the way the dough feels when it is ready, and the sound it makes when it comes out just right. Tonight there are no customers, no knocking at the door, no coin to count, no cloths to wash, only the dark, and the soft breath of one who has given everything the day asked of him, and now asks for nothing in return. Somewhere far away a bell tolls midnight. The sound barely carries this far, but the night seems to hear it anyway. The stars are high now, sharp and bright. The wind has gone still. The trees have stopped swaying. Even time itself feels slower, as if the world has turned down the volume, leaving only quiet behind. And so we leave him here. The baker. The hearth. The room where labor became ritual, and ritual became peace. There were no great events here. No records. No proclamations. Just a man. His hands. His bread. And a life lived fully between the rising and the setting of the sun. So let your breath fall gently now. Like flour sifted from high above. Like smoke rising from a fading fire. Like the hush between footfalls on an old wooden floor. Let the silence take hold. Not empty, but full. Full of warmth. Of meaning. Of a day that mattered, though the world may never know it. You have walked beside him now, from first light to last. And now, like him, it's time to rest. Good night.